Welcome everyone, I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Kingdom Death Monster on Roll20 and Tabletop Simulator. So, anyone who's familiar with my channel, I've ran this game, I think, twice. It's hard to keep track because I've actually attempted to record multiple playthroughs of this game, but I scrap a bunch of them. I think the last video I did on Kingdom Death Monster was a little bit about the 1.5 update. There's a Kickstarter that well, it's completed, but it's still, the shipping and all that stuff is still being done. That was essentially to restock and to update the main rules, as well as adding a bunch of new stuff. It was around that. So far as the Kickstarter is concerned, it's been a few years. I think it's been a year or two at least. And they've done, I think, the Wave 1 shipping. Maybe Wave 2. I don't remember. I think they've done at least Wave 1 because I've gotten the update. But everything else has been kind of delayed, and the person that created this game definitely has a reputation of delaying things for a very long time. Originally, I did have a playthrough started of 1.5 to kind of show off all the new stuff, as well, and just also because I enjoy playing the game. But as I was playing through it, I was like, all right, well, it's about to hit the next wave of shipping, and that's going to add a bunch of new stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll just wait and wait and see. And I was left waiting, and we're still waiting for a lot of those updates. He's given some updates and shown some stuff off, and they look really, really good. But I'll probably be 40 by the time by the time it releases. That being said, the 1.5 update by itself is really, really useful and a really good improvement for the base game. So I'm going to go ahead and just assume that I'm not going to be getting it the rest of it anytime soon, and I want to play this game some more, and I've done some updates about my layout and how I have this set up, and just want to test it out and get re-familiar with the rules again. I may be playing this with some other people. I'll present the idea of playing with my Pathfinder group and seeing if they're interested. More than likely they won't be, so more likely it's just going to be me playing this for a while. Anyway, there are a few other games I might be interested in transferring over to Roll20 because I generally prefer the setup. But those projects are not going to be anytime soon. We're looking at probably at least May before I actually start working on them. And I'm pretty sure you guys will see this before May at least. Anyway, as far as why I'm using Roll20, there are Tabletop Simulator modules of Kingdom Death Monster. What I have here is not the module. Instead, I took a lot of the cards and decks and all that stuff from the various modules I found and copied them over into this area. I like Roll20 because I like having control of how I set up the UI and things like that. And it's just, I find it a lot easier to organize. Also, I really like these digital character sheets that are on the Kingdom Death Monsters site. But the only thing that Roll20 is not really good at is dealing with decks, like decks of cards, and there are lots of decks of cards to work with in this game. In my previous playthroughs, I think my original one, I did everything rolling, and I kind of just physically did all the AI cards. I think my second playthrough, I did a mix, which is where I introduced Tabletop Simulator. That's why I have all this set up. It's all cards, so it's just a means for me to shuffle decks and reshuffle and organize cards as necessary. The AI decks are very difficult to kind of do in Roll20, so I have it just set up in Kingdom Death Monster. As far as the modules on Roll20 themselves, I can't really tell you how good they are. They definitely look probably a lot more visually appealing than my setup on Roll20. And there's some that include a lot of scripts that can probably make the game go a bit smoother, but personally I'm not that familiar with it, and like I said, it's easier for me just to work on Roll20. I think the main issue I had originally with a lot of the modules is the character sheets were kind of messy to mess with, and kind of keeping track of a lot of characters. And since I play by myself, all the characters are going to be tracked by me, so it's just a lot easier just to have all these little tabs instead. And I could just copy the links into the Roll20 sheets and then load them as necessary. So that's my setup. So originally I had the hit locations and the AI cards as what I worked on on Tabletop Simulator, and then everything else I did like a random number generator roll, and I kept track of what numbers I rolled, and I would re-roll repeats. Now I'm not going to be doing pretty much any of that. As you can probably see, I have a lot more decks on the screen. I have the resource decks, the fighting cards, innovations, the tactics, disorders, vermin, terrain, settlement events, innovations, and I have, off to the side, I have all the expansions. If I need to use them, I'll add them to it. I also have the hunt events for the various monsters now added in, as well as their individual resource decks. So everything's going to be handled through this. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to keep track of. It also means I don't have to do as much. Since I'm playing this by myself, I don't really need to do as much keeping track of stuff on the rewarded resources I have set up here. Obviously, if I was playing with other people, I would drag out images for them to actually see and keep track of. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. So my intention is just to play through the base game on the 1.5 update. So no additional stuff from the expansions, nothing from the challenge scenarios, none of that. As for those who are not familiar with Kingdom Death Monster, most people kind of say it's a mix of like Monster Hunter and Dark Souls. It's essentially a cooperative survival game where you're playing as humans trying to survive in this very dark and alien world. Essentially, it has a lot of Cthulhu-esque elements as well. Things about dying. There's a lot of death in it and a lot of insanity. And the goal of the game, at least for the base 1.5, is we need to get to the Nemesis encounter of the Gold Smoke Knight, and we have to defeat him. If we defeat him, that is considered a victory. The defeat condition is if our population ever hits 0, that is a defeat. There's also, I guess, a few other exceptions, I think, where if the fail result of a battle says, game over or something, that can also lead to a game over. I don't believe that's a case in this game, or at least in the base game, because I'm pretty sure you can call in characters for the final boss fights and things like that. Anyway, for those who are familiar with the base game, 1.5 has updated a lot of stuff. I'll kind of explain it as we go along, I think, is probably the best idea. Granted, it might mean one of the things I have set up on Roll20 is I have all the story events. Some of them may have changed. I have the book in front of me just in case, but I'll also make sure I show off all the various images and stuff. Be aware the art style and theme of this game is pretty dark and gruesome and in some cases lewd. So be aware of that as you watch this or don't watch this, whichever. But yeah, so that's the intention. I'm going to keep playing this until I either get tired of it or I actually beat it. There's a good chance I might lose in this very first encounter. I've had it happen before and I usually rage quit. But anyway, I don't think there's much else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into this. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to organize this. Also, if you notice, I'm constantly opening and closing folders. It's because my mouse double clicks when I don't want it to. So I'm going to be dealing with that on a board game, so that's going to be great. Anyway, alright, so the way this game starts is it does have an introduction, so I'll go ahead and read it up, and it'll kind of give an idea of the world we're in. So, once upon a time, there was a place of carved stone faces. A man with a lantern lay sleeping a dreamless sleep. The man knew nothing. One day, the man woke up. He rubbed the dried ink caked over his eyes and opened them. Around him, he saw other people stirring, and beyond, a horizon of unbroken darkness. A woman approached the man with the lantern. Her soft hand reached out to him. They had no words. They were a mystery to each other. Suddenly, a monster emerged from the darkness. Its eyes welled with hunger. It attacked. The people were no match for the monster. It tore their flesh and crushed their bones between its teeth. Some it devoured whole. Overcome with terror and grief, the man with the lantern collapsed to the ground. Cold stone noses pushed into his sides. There was no escape. But the man did not want to die. Desperately grasping at the cold stone faces, he felt a crack and tore at it with all his might. A piece of stone came free. It was sharp and deadly. The man with the lantern scrambled to his feet, his weapon clenched in his fist. He took a deep breath and roared into the darkness. Somewhere in the place of stone faces, nameless men and women stand together. They have nothing but a need to survive and a lantern to light their struggle. Alright. So that's the introduction. And as you can probably see for the game board itself, the floor itself is all stone faces. And I'll try my best to kind of show some of the various imagery, but essentially stone faces are everywhere. And it's pitch darkness, and their only light sources are these weird lanterns that they start with that are always lit. Also, they start with a piece of cloth on their body, and essentially the 4 survivors that are still alive to fight this the White Lion have essentially a stone shard that they ripped out of one of the stone faces to use as a weapon. So, at the start of the game, you immediately start with a battle, and there are 4 survivors, 2 male, 2 female. For the 2 males, I just picked 2 Toho characters that are male. One was Renazuki, the other one's Unzan. And they all start with a cloth and a founding stone. Now, cloth is armor. And what armor does is it provides 1 defense to the location that is labeled. So this one, it shows a little belt icon that represents the waist. So it gives 1 armor to the waist location. As you can see in the description, it tells you exactly what it is. A lot of the early game items will give you a little bit of tutorial information. So the cloth protects your waist, gain 1 armor point at the waist hit location. Usually, a lot of armor that just provides defense will just have the images and won't actually have a description. Or if it has a description, it'll be for some an ability that's associated with it. And then the founding stone. Also, I don't know why this loading thing keeps popping up, but it's annoying. Anyway, there we go. So, I think it's probably due to the weird double-clicking my mouse does. Anyway, we also have what's called a founding stone, which is essentially just, you can see as a stone face, it's a piece of a stone face. It's a weapon, melee, and stone. And then there's a bunch of stats in the top left, and then there's some effects here. So if you spend a lightning bolt, which is an activation, you can sling the stone from anywhere on the board. Archive this card for 1 automatic hit that inflicts a critical wound. Archive means you return it to the game box, which means you essentially throw away your weapon for 1 automatic hit in automatic crit. It has infinite range when you do that, which is awesome. And then the stats up here, you can see that it has lightning bolt here. For weapons, they'll always have a lightning bolt up here to show that you need to spend an activation to attack with it. And in order, it goes speed, accuracy, strength. So every point of speed that a weapon has is how many dice is a die that you roll. It's an attack roll you make. So in this case, it has a speed of 2, which means you attack with it twice every time you activate it. And then the 7+ here is the accuracy, which means on those 2 attacks that you just rolled, any 7s or higher will grant you a hit. There are other modifiers sometimes, but in most cases you can reliably go by the weapon number. And then the final thing is the strength, which is added to when you hit a location, you will have to do a wound roll, and on the wound roll you will add your strength, which is going to be your strength plus the strength of your weapon. So in this case, if we had 0 strength and just a founding stone and we hit a location, we would roll 1d10 plus 1, and we would need to meet or beat the monster's toughness. So that is kind of the gist of it. Also, just to quickly show off the cloth again, it's just labeled as armor. There's keywords that are under every single item, and they may or may not have some significance. Anyway, so that's the gist of it. As for the little sections of the characters, the gear grids, each survivor has their own gear grid, and it's a 3x3. So essentially, I could have my setup any way I want. The only restrictions is you cannot have multiples of the same item unless it's a weapon. So I can have multiple founding stones, but I can't have multiple cloths, essentially. Also, the way the grid set up is significant in its own way, but right now it doesn't really matter where we have these 2 pieces of equipment. And then along the sidebar, it kind of gives you the gist of what a player can do, what a survivor can do during battle. The way it works is you have a move and an activation. And during your action, you may do the following in any order. You may spend a movement to move a number of spaces up to your current movement attribute. I believe it's 5 as a starter. And then you can also spend your activation to attack, activate gear, activate train, do other things. And then at the end of your act, lose unspent movement and activations. Now this is important because I think, let's see, the way it's said, at the end of your act. Okay, so I always thought it was move then act, but I think you can do either in either order. As long as, now what you can't do is you can't just move like part of your movement, act, then attack, and then move the rest of your movement. That is not allowed unless something allows you to do so. And then it has survival actions. Survival actions are things that get unlocked through play. At the start of the game, all we have is dodge. And survival actions are what you use survival for, which you'll have points to spend as you progress through the game. Or you might not have any points and you'll be screwed. And then the final thing that the sidebar has is unarmed strike. It's known as fist and tooth. It's a weapon, melee, fist and tooth. You'll always have this unless said otherwise. And essentially it's speed 2, 8 accuracy, so it's less accurate, and it's 0 strength, so it has no strength modifier by itself. But it does have deadly, and what deadly does is it gives you +1 luck when you attack with this weapon, which means you have a higher chance of critting. Luck affects your crit chance. Usually a natural 10 on a d10 is a critical hit, but with fist and tooth, a 9 or a 10 would be a critical hit. Granted, there's no other modifiers. Alright, so, by the way, it's probably easy to say, but it's going to start out rather slow because, like I said, I'm kind of teaching myself the rules again. Anyway, so first things first, let's go ahead and get our characters set up. For those who are familiar with how I ran things, I usually rolled a random number generator that would pretty much pick Toho characters, and then I would have, some unnamed survivors and things like that. Now, you could choose to not name your survivor, but it's not really recommended, because naming your survivor gets you a survival point, which you're going to need in this first battle. So, like I mentioned before, I rolled randomly for the 2 females, and then I picked Unzon and Renazuki as the male Toho characters, because they are one of the very few Toho characters that are male. So, I'll go ahead and take care of them first. So, male, put in a name, Unzon. When you name your survivor, give yourself +1 survival. Click and drag up. Get +1 survival. It already darkens in dodge. One thing to note about this sheet, it is not 1.5. It is still the base version. 1.5 actually has a 5th survival ability, and I think it has a section for once per game reroll. But everything else should be mostly accurate. All your stats start at 0. Your movement starts at 5. We have no insanity. All of our injuries are unchecked. We do have that cloth armor, so our waist armor should be at 1. And then everything else should be fine. So that's all we need to do is set that up. I'll go ahead and do it for the rest of the characters. As for the females, I mentioned I rolled randomly. The way I rolled this time is I listed all the Toho characters, I updated the list, got some images for all the characters, and I have them separated by kind of their sources. So like, Scarlet Rhapsody and Imperishable Knight, etc. And I kind of ended up having about 30 different sources, though some of them only have 1 character in them. And what I did is I rolled a 1d30 and got 10. And then I went to what 10 was, which 10 ended up being Phantasmagoria of Flowerview, which is, I think, the first fighting game. And then it had 6 characters in it, so I rolled 2d6, and I ended up getting Medicine and Kamachi. So that is the 2 female characters I have. So I'm going to go ahead and check female. Right. And that's it. We're all set up for the characters. We already have the gear set up. I already made tokens for everything. And next, we just need to set up the monster. You probably hear me turning pages right now. So first story is the White Lion. So for all the monsters, I have them represented with this little lion figure. And I resize it based off the whatever monster we're fighting. Usually it's going to be 2x2, but there's a few situations where it's 3x3 or possibly even 4x4. All right, so we're going to go to the Tabletop Simulator here, and we're going to go to the White Lion. Let's switch the order of these. You might notice that some of the tints of these cards are different, and that's because I've gotten them from different module sources. Anyway, so there's generally 3 levels of the quarry monsters, which are the quarry monsters are the ones that you hunt down to get resources from. For the white line, there is a specific first story version, which is essentially the tutorial monster. It has only 6 toughness instead of 8. Its movement is still 6, and it has a custom deck list. So for the custom deck list, it consists of the following. And the reason why some of these AI decks are different colors is because 1.5 updated some of the cards. So, what we need is a size up, a power swat, a chomp, 1 claw, and a grasp. So those are the basics. The claw is going to be hard-coded to be the first attack card. That's just how the tutorial is set up. Alright, sorry about that. So those 5 basic cards, one of them being claw, which is going to be hard-coded to be on top. So next we do search for the advanced cards. Specifically, it starts with Maul, Terrifying Roar, and Enraged. Okay. Take these 7 cards, shuffle them, put it over there, put that on top. Alright, other thing we need to grab is the entire hit location deck. And the hit location deck also has some quirks to it as well. Just 1 quirk though. We need to search, and we need to grab, I believe it is Strange Hand. Take Strange Hand, shuffle everything else, this is Strange Hand, and put it on top. Now, this is only for the first fight. Everything else, it's all randomized. Alright, and then we have the resource deck itself, which I'm going to go ahead and put down here for now and shuffle it, and that's it. Alright, so that's all taken care of. We have it all set up. The only requirements for the showdown board, this one is also based off the first battle. So as for the first battle, you put monster in the center, and everything else has to be 6 spaces away. So all survivors can be anywhere they want as long as it's 6 spaces away. All distance and movement is orthogonal. So keep that in mind. Alright, so we can have it set up like this. If you look at each of the characters, 6 spaces away, 6 spaces away, 6 spaces away, 6 spaces away. You do it by the closest square. And if I wanted to, I could be anywhere along this little perimeter. I'm putting everything together because it's just safer to do it that way. And yeah. Anyway, so with that, we start the battle. So unless it says otherwise, the monster always goes first. So the monster turn, the monster does the following. First thing, actually, we need to grab this real quick. Actually, oops, I did not want to do that. You know what? We'll just do it this way. Search, grab. This is the basic action card. And on the opposite side, it has its basic action. Sometimes monsters will say, "Hey, do basic action," and that's just what you do on this card. It's 2-sided. Anyway, so white line. I'm taking the white line card here. Just the only thing we really need to keep track of is the movement and toughness, but it also has instinct. Here, let me zoom out a little bit. Instinct is usually what happens if the monster AI card has no target, in which case, in the case of the white line, it sniffs the air, and it pretty much makes all survivors threats despite anything else. And at a higher level, it even gets more accuracy. Alright, so, like I said, monster goes first. So, there's one more thing we need to set up. I completely forgot. My apologies. So I use this token here. This blue token is actually the priority token, but I use it as to represent the monster controller. So this is a cooperative game, but everyone is supposed to take turns controlling the monster. There's a single player variant where you just are not supposed to have a monster controller, but I play this as if I'm 4 players. And so I have it, so I'm just going to give the monster controller to somebody and kind of just cycle through clockwise. So we're going to start with Medicine here. And she'll be the monster controller, which means technically whoever's playing as Medicine would be drawing the AI card and performing the actions necessary. Alright, and if there's ever situations where the monster chooses, then it would be the player that chooses, and it's recommended that the player picks the worst possible option for the players, because the game hates you. Anyway, so Medicine's going to start first, and she gets to draw the first AI card of the game. So, Claw. Now the way this is this card's a little bit faded, so it's kind of hard to see the little arrows that are dividing things. But you start from top to bottom. So pick target, closest threat facing in range. And the way this works is you go line by line of the pick target options, and you go with whichever the first one is. So closest threat facing in range. So facing is based off the monster facing. I have it facing towards us, just because. And so anything that is in front of the monster is within line of sight. And then the other requirement is closest threat in range. So in range means within movement range. So in this case, the monster, everything's in movement range because this monster has 6 movement and everything is within 6. Also, everything is exactly the same distance, so the monster controller gets to pick the target. So Medicine's going to go ahead and move it. It's always going to be direct routes. Like so. And it's going to go ahead and make its first attack. So, the way monster attacks work is it's very similar to player attacks. It has speed, accuracy, but instead of strength, it has damage. So it's going to roll 2d10. Its accuracy is 2+, which means it only misses on 1s, unless there's modifiers. And every hit's going to do 1 damage. So, what we're going to do here with Roll20 here is we're going to do roll 2d10. Alright, 2 and a 5, both are hits. So it's 2 hits, and then for every hit, there's a special die that comes with the game that has a bunch of images that match the hit locations. It's essentially a d6, and the way it works is there's one for everything except for the body, which has 2. So I'm just going to roll 2d6 and go from there. 2d6. 5 and 6, so arms and head. So the way this works is we need to, the player can resolve these in any order she wants. So it's going to be 1 hit to the arms and 1 hit to the head. Now there's a light wound and a heavy wound. If like any damage that you take to a location goes to armor first, unless it says otherwise, and then it fills in the light and then the heavy, and then any damage after that is going to be a grievous injury. So now if you take a heavy wound to a location, it will knock you over. And if you're knocked down, you can't really do much. So, we do have 1 point of survival, and we have access to dodging. And what dodge does is you spend 1 point of survival to avoid 1 attack. You can only do it once per turn, unless it says otherwise. There's going to be a lot of caveats where it's like, you know, if a specific effect card tells you otherwise, then you go with the card. Anyway, she's going to spend 1 survival to avoid the dodge the head hit, because she can't afford that. The head is the easiest way to die. And then she's going to take the hit to the arms, so it's going to fill in that box there. It's a light hit, it's a light wound, so it doesn't actually knock her over. And that's it. That's all been resolved, and it's now the player's turn. Now, the players can go in any order they want, but the player that starts their action has to finish their action before anyone does anything. There's some opportunities to like interrupt each other with special abilities, but for the most part, the idea is you can't have someone move and then someone else do their action and then you finish your action type situation, unless you're dashing or surging. So, any order I want. Now, we do know that Strange Hand is the first hit location, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and have Kamachi here. She's going to take her first action. Alright. and she's going to actually throw her Founding Stone. I always like starting with the throwing of the Founding Stone since I know what the hit location is. So we already gone over what happens when you throw it. It gets archived, so I'm just going to delete it completely. It's an auto hit, auto crit. And I can do it from any range. So we take a look at the top card, and it's Strange Hand. Now the way this works is it has reaction. It'll have various effects and descriptions and things like that. The first thing is its reaction, and it says failure. What that means is whatever is listed below that is activated whenever a failure occurs. So, for example, if she had attacked instead, the first hit location she would have gotten was Strange Hand, and if she had failed to wound it, not only would she do no damage, but the white line would immediately attack back with a basic action. And basic action is essentially the equivalent of Claw. And then this hit location has a critical wound, which anytime you critically wound, it will cancel any reactions if there are any. And in the case of Strange Hand, what a critical hit does is you hack off the monster's hand. You can spend 1 survival to treasure this moment and gain a +1 permanent strength. So, we automatically hit, we automatically crit, so this is all resolved. And the way this works is it's a persistent injury, so you keep it in play. Usually you would have a discard pile, but in the case of a persistent injury, it stays in play always. Now, anytime you do a wound to a monster, unless it says otherwise, you take the top card of the AI deck, and you discard it. And the way the monster works is once it runs out of AI cards, and you do one more wound to it, it dies. That is how you kill the monster. So one quick thing I want to check and make sure is I believe it's face down when you wound a monster. Yeah, it says remove the top card of the AI deck without looking at it and place it in the wound stack space. So this left side here is going to be the wound stack, right side is the discard. The monster will reshuffle its discard every time it cycles through. Alright, now you got to remember the extra effect here. So what we have is Kamachi is going to spend 1 point of survival and get +1 strength. So her strength is now permanently +1, which means even though she's using her fist, she does about the equivalent of her stone shard. She's just less accurate. Alright, so that was our first wound. And we dive right into this. As for her movement, she is going to move away. Now, movement is always lateral, so or orthogonal, or however you pronounce it. 1, 2, 3, like so. Next is I'm going to go ahead and have Medicine go next. She'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5 movement. So she's used her movement, and for her action, she's going to attack using a Founding Stone. So we've already gone over the speed. It's 2, so I'm going to roll 2d10. 5 and 5. Accuracy is 7 with a Founding Stone, so both attacks miss. Now, there's one other thing I forgot to mention, is monsters do have a blind spot. In the case of the white line, it's the 2 spaces directly behind the monster. So that's what we got. Now, attacking from being in a blind spot can help you avoid being aggroed on. The other thing it provides is it does give you +1 accuracy on your attack. Unfortunately, even with +1 accuracy, it only gives me 6s, which are still misses. Alright, Renezuki will go next. Come on, there we go. Anyway, he'll go there, he'll make his 2 attacks in the blind spot. Alright, 2 hits, because +1 accuracy from attacking from the blind spot. So the way this is going to work is you take the top 2 cards, because I hit twice, 1 and 2. Alright, so we got the Beast Chest, and we can resolve these any order we want. So we got the Beast Chest and the Beast Paw. Beast Chest, if we fail it, it's going to make a full move in a straight line, which is straight down in this case. And anyone that's run over will get grabbed. Usually when a monster runs you over, you get knocked over and possibly knocked back. But this monster tends to grab you and drag you along, and you'll end up taking additional damage, as well as be knocked down and dragged with it. Now, if we critically wound this, there's a chance we can instantly kill this monster. And then the other location is Beast Paw, which is, if you fail to hit this, it does basic action, and it does additional 2 damage per hit. So instead of doing 1 damage per hit, it would do 3, which is devastating at this point in the game because we have no armor. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go for the chest first, and if I fail it, at least it will make it so I can't do the other one. Alright, so beast chest first. I have to do a attack, 1d10 plus character strength, which is 0, plus weapon strength, which is 1. 6. 6 is a wound. I believe you have to attempt to do... Total is equal to or greater than the monster's toughness. Right now, White Lion's toughness is 6. So that is a wound. It's just a regular wound, so all of this is just going to go to the discard. Top card's going to go here. So as you're wounding it, it's going to lose abilities, which is somewhat useful. And I have to do the other one now. So 1d10, same roll. And I failed it. So what's going to happen here is, that was Renazuki. It's going to turn around and roll attacks. So 2d10, both hit, 2d6. Alright, well the good news is it's all to the head. Bad news is it's all to the head. Alright, now something to note about reaction attacks is you can't dodge. You actually can't dodge during a reaction, which is really, really annoying. Yeah, survivors cannot dodge while attacking. So all this is going to go to the head. Now the good news is you only suffer 1 grievous injury during an attack action. So, or at least from 1 source of damage. Now this is classified as a 1 source of damage here. So he's going to take a hit to the head, which is going to knock him down, which we're going to represent with a red dot. Alright, so red dot I'll use to represent knockdown. And then I got to roll on grievous injuries. So I'm going to show off grievous injuries here, severe injuries rather. So I haven't. So here's the table for it. Needless to say, head is the most dangerous because you have about a 40% chance of death. Anything from head explosions to decapitation, etc. Generally, you want to roll high on this. So I need to roll 1d10. No modifiers, as far as we know. 5. Good news is he didn't die. Bad news is he got intracranial hemorrhage. You can no longer use or gain any survival. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Gain 1 bleed token. Alright, so he's knocked over. He's not dead. He cannot spend survival or gain survival. And he has intracranial hemorrhage. I believe that's how you write it. Intracranial hemorrhage. 2 R's. Thank you. Double click. Hemorrhage. Yep. And it's permanent, and he gets 1 bleed token. Bleeding in this game, unless it says otherwise, if you ever get 5 bleed tokens, you die from blood loss. And this can happen from various attacks as well as injuries. Alright, it's still our turn. We have Unzon left. Now the good news is he turned around. Bad news is he's facing the enemy, and as you probably have noticed, some of the reactions involve dashing through people. So, a bit ugly. So, I'm going to go ahead and attack from the blind spot. So, roll 2d10. I hit... Nope, I don't hit at all. I need a 7. Even with the +1, it doesn't matter. That is all of our actions. We go straight into White Lion's turn. White Lion's going to go ahead and draw a card. Size up. Oh, also, monster controller switches. So, it's a little awkward to use the slider on the bottom because my recording software is actually covering it. Anyway, Rinzuki is the monster controller right now. Size up. Random threat in field of view. So field of view is everywhere except the blind spot, and threats are people are people that are not standing. Or sorry, are standing. So Rinzuki is not a threat. Onzon is not in field of view. That leaves Medicine and Kamachi. So I'm going to roll 1d2. 1 will be Kamachi, 2 will be Medicine. Alright, Kamachi is the target. The monster stares down at its prey, turn to face the target, and roll 1d10. I was looking for the thing to rotate it. So it's more right than up, so I'm turning it that direction. And then I need to roll 1d10. 4 plus is what is required. Target suffers 1 brain damage per monster level and is knocked down. This monster is level 1. It's going to do 1 brain damage to Komachi. We do have a box for the brain. Also, if you have Insanity, Insanity is classified as armor for the brain, which is useful, but if you have too much Insanity, you become insane, which can have certain effects. So, she is also knocked down. Alright. So, knocked down. I'm just confirming when it wears off. So, knocked down. When a survivor is knocked down, turn the minister on its side, blah, blah, blah. Knockdown survivors always stand at the end of the monster's turn. So, Renazuki does get up. Komachi is still going to be on the ground, though. Actually, yeah. Yeah, it happens on the next monster's turn. That's kind of written weird, so I'm just making sure. Knockdown survivor. Yeah, at the end of the the next monster turn. So in the case of Renazuki, this is the next monster turn because it's a new round. For Komachi, she got knocked down on this round. All rounds start with the monster attacking. All right, so Komachi can't do anything except pretty much get up at the end. Well, she's just stuck. There is a way to get people up, but we don't have that ability yet. So Renazuki and Medicine are kind of our people right now. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and have Renazuki attack. He might as well. He has survival left, but he can't use it anymore. So, and he's in trouble. So 2d10, 1 hit because I'm attacking from the blind spot. Actually, 1, 2, 3. I'm actually going to move him here, just in case. So 1 hit. Again, we draw 1 card. Beast heal. You clip the tense muscle to heal. Alright, there's no reactions here, so it's safe. So all I need to do is just do my 1d10 plus 1. Failed the wound. Alright. Next, I will have... I'm going to go ahead and have Unzon attack. He's going to attack in place, so he only hits on 7s. Both miss, and I'm seeing that Roll20 just despises me. So... And then last is going to be Medicine. She'll attack from behind. She's using Fist and Tooth, if you recall. Actually, was that Medicine that did it? No. Komachi is the one that has Strength. So she actually still has her Founding Stone. So she hits on 6s. All misses. So there you go. That is it. It goes to Monster's turn. Monster Controller shifts over to Unzon. This gets discarded. Alright, next card. Grasp. Closest knockdown survivor in range. Closest survivor in range. Alright, closest survivor knockdown survivor is Komachi, so it's going to target her. And this is speed 1, accuracy 2, 1 damage, and then if it does damage, it will grab the target and drag them away. So it's going to go... I'm going to do that for the movement. And then attack. It's just 1d10. Hits. Roll the location. That is body. So it takes 1 to the body. Then she's going to be hit and dragged away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then grab. And that's going to do another point of damage to the waist. Or sorry, that's the arms. Onto the arms. Alright. She's already knocked down, so she can't be double knocked down, thankfully. But yeah, full move the white lion away from all threats, so target suffers grab. So that's what happened there. They moved 6 away and went from there. So, it's now our turn. Komachi gets up. And unfortunately, everyone else is not in a great position. I'm going to go ahead and rotate Komachi around and make 2 attacks. She's using Fist and Tooth, so... both missed. She has accuracy 8 and plus 1 accuracy makes it she only hits on 7s. Alright, And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. All right, and that's it. We could throw founding stones, but I'm not to that point yet. All right, next card. Maul. Victim of grab last round. All right, well, last grab was Komachi, and doesn't matter if she's in the blind spot. So it's going to turn around and say hello. All right, 2 attacks, accuracy 2. Both hit. Head and legs. So it's going to do 2. Now the way this works is it's going to do 3 damage, bash, and bleed 1. So she's probably going to die. She's going to take 3 to the head, which is going to easily do that. And she's going to take an injury to the legs as well. As long as they're separate locations, you can suffer multiple injuries. And she gets, 1 bleed. Get that out of there. All right. She's going to be knocked down, but I'm just going to handle this right now. Roll 1d10. I'm going to do head first. Okay. We got a 10 on the head. I'm going to go ahead and roll the second one. The second one's going to be legs. Okay. The reason why I rolled the second one ahead of time is just because it could have killed me anyway. So, 10. Destroy tooth. If you have 3+ courage, you boldly spit the tooth out and gain +2 insanity. Otherwise, the blow sends you sprawling, you're knocked down. So she only gets knocked down from that. And then for legs, she got 3. Gain 2 bleeding tokens. So, this will bring her up to 3 bleed. Dying from leg injuries is only a 10% chance, but the bleed is still going to add up at this rate. So 1 and 2. So she's at 3 bleed. She is definitely knocked down. The dangerous thing is as you wound the monster and it has less AI cards, it can get into a combo where it just has a bunch of nasty attacks that'll just end you. But Maul's been taken care of. We now know that it has at least Claw, Size Up, Grasp, and Maul, which are all... Claw and Size Up are probably the least of our worries. The other 2 are pretty nasty, especially if they hit. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and start things off. Komachi's on the ground again. She's not going to be able to do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's going to go ahead and attack with her Founding Stone. She only has 7s to hit. Alright, 1 hit. Fleshy Gut. Failure. The white lion swats back. And stuff. So, 1d10 +1. Alright, that is a wound. It says 10, but that was, we rolled a 9, so it's not a critical, but it's a wound. And we need all the wounds we can get. So there we go. Additional wound. We've done 3 wounds. We still have 6 more to go. Alright, Renazuki, go ahead. Do your thing. 2d10, 1 hit. Beast Temple. Still using a Founding Stone. That is a wound. It's toughness 6 right now, thankfully. So that's another wound there. Alright, so now we know exactly what abilities it has. For better and for worse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Go ahead and take the risk on Dawn. Perfect hit and a regular hit. Perfect hit means it always hits. It also has influences on certain abilities. So we draw 2, and this is a trap card. Trap cards is when you get a trap, you immediately stop the attack. And everything gets reshuffled. Alright. The attacker is doomed, which means they can't spend survival, which doesn't really matter because it can't do it anyway. Perform basic action against the target attacker. So this is the only hit location that can't be wounded or critted. So throwing a Founding Stone and hitting a trap is probably the worst thing you can ever get. Alright. Anyway, we need to resolve the trap first. Also, if the monster happens to be knocked over and you draw a trap card, it will get up. Alright, so it's just going to do basic action, which is essentially Claw. So 2d10. 1 miss, 1 hit. 1d6. To the head. I kind of wish it would stop hitting me in the head. So he gets knocked over. He gets to join the knocked over party. Okay. And that is it for that. So monster controller goes to Komachi next. Alright, that resolves all that. Goes to monsters. He needs to reshuffle the AI deck, so he does. Also, I need to reshuffle the hit location deck. Draw. Claw. Alright, so closest threat facing in range, and then closest threat in field of view. He has no threats in facing right now, so he has to do the next one, which is closest threat in field of view. Unzon and Komachi are both knocked over, so they are not threats. Alright. Now the question is who do I want to attack? Medicine has no survival left, and Rinazuki has no survival, or can't use survival. So I'm going to have it target Rinazuki. 2d10. 2 hits. Waist and legs. And then waist is just the it rips up the cloth, essentially. Alright, and that is it for that. Both Komachi and Unzon get up. Alright, I'm going to have Medicine go first. She's just going to rotate around, and she's going to attack twice with the Founding Stone. 1 hit. Beast Temple, if you fail, it's going to attack back. Alright. 1d10 plus 1. Failed to wound, so it's going to turn around and attack her. With basic action, 2d10. 2 hits. Body and legs. Body. Legs. Could have been worse. Resolve it. Alright. Also, you don't reshuffle any of the wounded injuries. Those stay out. Persistent injuries can also affect certain action AI cards, but in this case it does not. Losing the hand doesn't actually cause anything. Alright. Rinazuki, we'll have you do your attack first. So 2d10 with Founding Stone. 2 hits, because attacking the blind spot. 1 and 2. We're going to go for the groin first. You hit the monster right in the ding-dong. And critting this location can be both good and bad. 1d10 plus 1. Alright, didn't crit, but I did wound. So, top card. Alright, next is the Beast Elbow. If I fail it, it's going to trample Medicine. I wound it. Alright. 2 AI cards left. One of them's Claw. That's good, but the other one could be anything. Alright. That resolves that, and then I'm going to move him out of the way. I'm going to move him there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. That's fine. Alright. Unzon goes next. I'll rotate him around. Attack with Founding Stone. 2 hits. 1 perfect. The paw and the tail. We know about the paw. I'm going to go for the tail first. Reflex means it's going to trigger no matter what. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just do it. I'll move him 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, still within Komachi's attack range. So yeah, I'm going to go for the tail first to avoid the paw. Failed to wound. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to drag her. And then I need to roll 1d6 for the wound. It's going to be to the body, which is going to be a heavy wound, but she's going to be knocked down anyway. And then that is it. We'll resolve those 2 hit locations. Alright, Komachi goes next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she's going to attack twice with her fist. Yeah, that's right. It was Komachi that did it. I was just making sure I was doing the right characters. 2d10. Both missed. Because it hates me. Alright. Monster turn. last AI card. Unfortunately, it's Maul, which the last target that suffered a grab last round was unfortunately Medicine. So Medicine, 2 hits, legs and head. So heavy energy to the head and legs. Let's just get this over with because she's probably going to die. So head first, get it out of the way. Alright, 8, and then legs. Okay. She's going to get a bleed from the Maul, and then she's going to get 2 bleed from the legs because that's bleeding again. 8 for the head is concussion. Your brain is scrambled like an egg, gain a random disorder, and gain 1 bleed token. So that brings her up to 4 bleed. And then I need to get a random disorder. So here's our disorder deck. Okay. Hyperactive. During the showdown, you must move at least 1 space every round. Could be worse. Whether you're running, fiddling with gear, or pacing, you're always moving. So, you can have a max of 3 disorders. Hyperactive. And if you get more, I think you discard 1 essentially. Anyway, once you record it, you just bring it back into the deck. All right. Medicine was actually knocked down during player phase, so she does get back up somehow. She's not in good shape, and apparently she's probably not bleeding because she's a doll, but she is not in any good shape right now. So, if she takes another bleed, she dies. Period. And yeah, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Okay, click and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go ahead and have her throw her Founding Stone. Okay, throw the Founding Stone. It's archived. Draw a hit location. Beast Femur. Critical hit to this location, you bruise the little white lion's femur, crippling its graceful movements. It gains a -1 movement token and gain 1 random white lion resource. Alright, so first things first, I need to shuffle this. Top card. So there's 1 AI card left. It's either Claw or Maul. I don't know which. And we get a random white lion resource, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle this and draw. Lion Claw, a razor sharp retractable claw. The way resources work, there are kind of 4 types of resources. There's scrap, bone, organs, and hide. Lion Claw is a bone, which is usually used for weapons. Alright. It's also an extra resource, and we need as many resources as we can get. Alright. So with that said and done, let's oop. I get to grab one of these movement tokens, copy it, paste it, and put it here. So now it has only 5 movement instead of 6. It's not a big deal. I really just needed the wound to happen. Alright, so that is it for her. I'm going to go ahead and attack with Komachi. 2 attacks. She only hits on 8s, 7s because of blind spot. I do hit once. Beast Ribs. This has a reaction based off wounding, so you trigger the reaction only on wounds. And that's about it. So 1d10 plus 1. She has no weapon, but she has +1 strength because of the crit she did earlier. So 1d10 plus 1. Now remember what I said about Fist and Tooth. It is deadly, which means it is +1 luck, which means you crit instead of critting on just a 10, you crit on 9s and 10s. This is a natural 9, so it's a crit. The force of the blow breaks the white lion's ribs, weakening it. The white lion gains -1 toughness token. Now this one's key because it makes it so it's easier to wound. So, also, last AI card goes to the wound pile. So now he has no AI cards, which means if he doesn't have any AI cards and it hits his turn, he does basic action. So we need to do 1 more wound somehow. We also get the -1 toughness. I think it's that one. If it isn't, it doesn't matter. So -1 toughness, which means his toughness is now 5. And then for her movement, click and hold. There we go. 1, 2, 3. We're just going to move there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So Rinazuki, you're going to go ahead and move and attack. Anzan is unfortunately out of range. 2 attacks. He still has his Founding Stone, I believe. Yes, he does. So 2d10. No hits. And then Anzan is just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. Okay. Monster turn. So basic action. We actually need to flip this over and look at it. Closest survivor in field of view. Pretty safe. Pretty straightforward. That means it says survivor, not threat, which means it will attack people that are knocked over. So rotate. So closest threat in field of view is unfortunately medicine. So 2d10. 2 hits. Head and waist. So we can resolve the waist, but there's a good chance she's going to die from just blood loss at this point. So 1d10, 7. Blind. Okay, so she would have lost an eye, which would have been -1 accuracy, and if she suffers 2 blind injuries, you'll become -4 accuracy and have to retire. But she gains 1 bleed token, which is going to kill her. So this will be the death of medicine, unfortunately. When a character dies, any gear that's on their gear grid gets returned to the settlement, though technically we don't have a settlement yet. So I'm just going to keep it on the grid for now, and she's going to join the dead. So I've got our little graveyard over there, which we'll show off later. Okay. So, that's all of that. It's our turn. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Kamachi first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, also I completely forgot to keep track of monster turns. Would have went medicine for the mall, and then go to Rinazuki now. So the key thing about the monster controller is if you ever target yourself, target the character you're controlling as the monster controller, that survivor will actually gain an insanity point, which is pretty useful in this tier of the game. Anyway, Kamachi's going to attack with her fist. I don't know what that. Okay, that was new. All right, so roll 2d10. Both missed. Rinazuki will go next. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. He'll attack with. All right, 1 perfect hit. Trap card. So it's going to turn around. I'm going to go ahead and just shuffle this and resolve it now. So he's going to turn around and bop Rinazuki there. 2 hits. Looks like arms and waist. Arms and waist. Okay, he didn't get knocked over. Good for him. Good news for Anzan is it does turn him around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 attacks to the back. 2 hits. I already shuffled 1. Trap card again. I hate when it does that, where it's like, oh, here, have another trap card. So it's going to turn around and attack Anzan now. 2d10. Only 1 hit. 1d6. Looks like arms. Okay. Goes to monster turn again. Monster controller is Anzan, and he's going to be targeting himself, so he gains 1 insanity. Boop. Alright. Hopefully he survives. 2d10. Both hits. 2d6. That's body and body. It's going to knock him down. Actually, he can dodge 1. He does still have his survival point, so he'll dodge 1 of them. So he takes a light injury, but he doesn't get knocked over. Alright, hits our turn again. I'm going to go ahead and just go this way. I'm going to attack with Anzan first. So, hitting on 7s. misses. Rinazuki hits on 6s, 2 hits. Okay, back and tail. I'm going to go for back first. It doesn't really matter which one, to be honest. Actually, since it doesn't matter, sorry, I keep having the card be outside the recording range. Anyway, I'm going to go for the tail because either way, this is going to be the last attack if it wounds. And the tail has a chance of giving us a resource if it crit. So, here goes nothing. We wound on 5s, thankfully. +1. And we wound. So that is a kill. Whew. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and resolve this. This was our first fight. We had already 1 death. Generally, you'll probably get 1 death. We had a lot of headshots, which is what really, really hurt us. But it is what it is. Anyway, so the way this is going to work is we just need to resolve this. Fighting with Fist and Tooth. I mean, we did get an extra resource, which is really, really useful. Alright, so take out the Lion Resources deck and the Basic Resource deck and shuffle them. I've already shuffled the Lion Resource deck. Basic resources are right here. So I'll put that there. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Alright, so we get to draw 4 Lion Resources. Yeah. I'm fairly certain I shuffled that, but that's okay. Just real quick, I'm going to check. Yeah, it's all shuffled. I just wanted to make sure. Anyway, basic resources. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so on top of the claw that we got from the crit, that's a bone. Great cat bone, strong and surprisingly light. That's also a bone. We got 3 of those, so that's 4 bones so far. A shimmering mane, which is a hide, but this one is special. It shimmers in the lantern light. Archive this to gain 2 basic hide resources. So it's not only just a hide, it's 2 hide. We got a regular monster hide, which is the skin of the beast, which is just a hide, essentially. Broken lantern, remains of an extinguished lantern, which is scrap. At this point in the game, scrap is not something we're probably going to be using much. And then we got monster organ. Now, resources you can also sometimes use. In this case, you can consume it. You archive it, roll 1d10 on a result of 6+. You can track the parasite, archive all consumable gear in your gear grid now. Essentially, there's no reason to ever eat it, but sometimes you might get forced to. So that's why it's labeled organ and consumable. But there you go, 2 monster organs. So we got a scrap, 2 organs, 3 hide, and 4 bone. So not too bad. Alright. But, and then, let's see. Also, all survivors that survived, medicine is dead unfortunately, get 1 hunt experience. And there's a little darkened squares to kind of show places that you quote-unquote level up. Okay. And there you go. Next, we'll be going to our first lantern year, doing the settlement phase and getting essentially our initial settlement. But I'm going to go ahead and call it a video. Sorry if it took so long. Like I said, I'm taking my time and I had some technical difficulties you can probably tell. But yeah, I am The Depressed Eater. This is Kingdom Death Monster 1.5. See you guys next time.